Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another The Starcraft Showcast. My name is Nirano, and today I'll be bringing you a game between two Concordia Starcraft Community players, TheAfro, spawning at the left-hand side as the orange Zerg, versus Itchebobo, the blue Protoss player, spawning at the top right-hand corner of the screen. A little bit of background information on the Concordia Starcraft community. I have mentioned it before. It is a newly formed community for playing StarCraft, I guess you could say, in Concordia University, which is based in Montreal, Quebec. They do boast players such as TT1 and, I mean, no one else that's incredibly famous, but players that are incredibly good. Itchebobo, of course, being a, I believe, 1900 Protoss player now, just about to break 2000, and TheAfro I do not know, because I'm a terrible caster and have not done my research, but maybe the more mystery, the better. As I have not yet seen this game, but I have heard some pretty great things about it, and so let's get to it. The first probe spawning, scouting, quite early on in this game for Itchebobo, making sure there's no 6-pool, anything devious going on, but TheAfro is just droning up as hard as he can, and going for the 14 pool, probably going to try to get a hatchery around 15 food, or 16, or something like that. Something that Zerg players do. Not very professional of me, yes, I know. I'm currently actually in the middle of exam period, so I'm playing StarCraft or watching StarCraft sort of to edge off the nerves. But I haven't casted in a while, so excuse me if I am stuttering or anything, nervous tendencies that you might detect within my voice. But right now, our players both going for a pretty standard opening. Of course, lots of people are saying now, if you do go for a 14 hatchery instead of the pool first, there's absolutely no way you're going to beat Protoss, or Terran for that matter as a Zerg player. You simply need to have this spawning pool up and running before you go for that hatchery, or you will not be able to properly defend it from any type of early aggression by your opponent. And of course that was a mistake people were making when expanding this early became fairly popular, but I think most players now understand that they cannot get away with expanding without that spawning pool being down first. And now, interesting over here, I think TheAfro did see the probe over here, even though he's no longer here, which is a good mind game from our Protoss player. Coming here just to make sure what's going on. But there is a Roach Warren going down before the hatchery, which is something you don't very often see anymore. You usually see that hatchery go down before the Roach Warren. But again, I think TheAfro going for a very safe play against Protoss. Early aggression and getting a Roach Warren is definitely a strong way to come out in this game, especially with such a short rushing distance between the two natural expansions on this map. So right now, one Zealot here just blocking off the entrance, but it looks to me like Itchebobo is going to be stocking up on sentries. Yep, here comes another sentry, and a lot of Protoss players opting to do this early game because it allows their sentries to get a lot of energy before the game fully begins, and losing one Zergling right over there to this sentry and this... What do we even call it? Does anyone have a name for that Zealot sword? Light sword. It's like a lightsaber, essentially. A lightsaber in StarCraft. Probably just an homage to Star Wars. That's probably what it is. StarCraft, Star Wars. Not much of a difference, right? So right now, a few roaches coming out for TheAfro. Zerg player actually performing the early aggression in this matchup. Of course, roaches ever since the patch. I forget which patch it exactly was, but very, very effective ever since that range upgrade to 4, and now the hatchery going to go down for our Zerg player at 36 food, so a very, very safe expansion for our Zerg player if this push goes according to plan. Need to be careful though so these roaches don't get caught, and ooh, very nice force field cutting off the army almost exactly in half. I'm going to take down these two roaches before their little roach buddies can come in to do anything. Another force field being applied there to just make sure that no more aggression can come through this hole. And of course, wow, that's a lot of Zerglings going to try to get in there, but they will not be able to as TheAfro is spawning in a Zealot right there in the corner, and these Stalkers here are going to prevent any type of Zergling run by. TheAfro even complimenting Itchebobo on his ability to stop this this early-ish aggression by our Zerg player. This expansion a little bit more than halfway complete now for our Zerg player, TheAfro, and a whole bunch of gateways being thrown down. Well, 4, but these 2 I think were fairly recent additions to the Itchebobo lineup of gateways. And morphing on a lot of Stalkers, probably anticipating some Mutalisk in the future, as it is very, very common that Zerg players have Mutalisk around the 9-minute mark, and we are nearing that right now, sitting at 7 minutes and 45 seconds. However, little does Itchebobo know there is no Spire up, or does not seem to be a Spire on the way anytime soon, as the Spine Crawlers are being thrown down only now for TheAfro, who's probably anticipating some form of retaliation by the Protoss player. Now the lair tech going down, so the Spire definitely going, we're definitely going to be seeing, 2 Roach Warrens. Definitely a big mistake, and I hope TheAfro figures this out. I can't imagine why he would have built 2 Roach Warrens, especially considering that this Roach Warren has been up for such a long time, so definitely hope to see that cancelled, and we'll come back to that in a second. But I really like the Spine Crawler placement. Gonna give the Spine Crawlers very decent amount of range to defend the mineral line over here. And now, only now, at the 9-minute mark, is TheAfro beginning to saturate his expansion. The Protoss player just about to build his Nexus at 56 food, and actually that's a good thing to keep in mind right now if we do go into the army tab, that our Protoss player right now is sitting at a way more valuable army, but in terms of food, almost equal, although I do believe that most of that is drone count. Actually, no. I suppose it's just because there are so many Zerglings, and they are cheap as hell. There aren't 10 more drones now, but when I did check, it was not that many drones. And right now, looks like these Zerglings here attempting... Well, I don't think they're fully aware of this attack, but Itchebobo has to be very careful that the Zerglings don't come from behind, because they're going to do a lot of damage. Oh, yes, and they are Speedlings now. They're going to do a lot of damage to these Stalkers. Oh, beautiful force fields cutting off the reinforcements, and another 2 in front. Really, look at this force field placement. Absolutely beautiful. Itchebobo saves so many of his units, so many of his expensive units from certain death. And he's going to have to be really careful now for the Spine Crawlers. A few more Zerglings coming from the back won't do too much damage. And right now, 22 Zerglings in the production tab, so Itchebobo really has to be careful. But they are not all popping at the same time. And see, now there's still 8 more, so they're not all popping, pulling off all the drones, and there's so much damage being done by our Protoss player. Even puts a very smart force field over here to prevent any reinforcements, but it looks like the Zerglings are just massing in number, and this hatchery is looking to fall. Oh, but here comes the Zerglings, and there might just be enough to take out the Stalkers. Of course, Speedlings do so well against Stalkers, and the Stalkers will fall, as there's simply too many Speedlings for these little... Well, I guess compared to Speedlings, I would call them slow units, even though Stalkers are typically one of the fastest units in StarCraft 2. But, of course, that push did not manage to take down the hatchery, but a huge economic advantage now falls to our Protoss player. Oh, and TheAfro now only realizing that he does have 2 Roach Warrens. He did indeed let them complete, and Itchebobo is just laughing, kind of... well, you know, that ellipses there suggests that maybe he doesn't quite fully understand how 2 Roach Warrens came to be, but maybe he's happy for it. That is a few minerals wasted on the Zerg's behalf. Oh, and he needs to be really careful. He did not see these Zerglings run by, and they just might be able to get through. Yes, I think they will, as there is nothing blocking this entrance, and all those Speedlings get through. And over here, another attack by our Protoss player, who also another very nice force field, but these Zerglings over here are going to take down the entire mineral line of our Protoss player, and I don't even think he's realized there are no units being warped into his base. He is too focused on taking down this expansion, taking down all the drones once again, so it seems to me right now that this is going to be a very equal... just now realizing what has happened, but it was too late to stop the damage. There's absolutely not one probe alive. Now the Speedling is going down to take these probes down, and still nothing to defend it as they run away. But this push over here has finally taken down the hatchery. A huge hit to the Zerg economy, but again the Speedlings are surviving, and there's nothing to take them down. Are we seeing Oh, but there are 3 Zealots